agree with John that we've done a lot to bring back some programs that were eliminated, but you still have some study halls. Kids still have 2 in a day. Those can be a good thing, though, to have some wiggle room in your schedule so that you can bring in outside speakers to address certain needs of maybe 6th graders, 7th graders have something different. And I know I shared this with the committee last meeting, I believe, that we've had our school resource officers eliminated and that you were filling them in those health PE classes. And that's due to a grant that they didn't get renewed, but they're not in our program. So you've got slots that haven't been filled with that much needed program. I would love to find a way to bring our own police officers back. I mean, there are other kinds of programs that you can plug in the day, but our police officers making the connection with our kids throughout the middle school and into the high school years, I thought, and I still believe, is so important. You know, but that's a reduction that the police budget has taken. So when we talk about cutting staff also at any level in the school system, we have to consider the unemployment costs. So for every 2 people we lay off, you have to lay off 3 to cover the cost of the unemployment, which just unnerves me that we would consider layoffs, having to spend that extra money. But again, at both the middle school and the high school, we could be asking that you submit a budget that reflects a reduction in staff or programs or a combination of both in the event that we have to reduce our budget up to maybe $1 million. We will need that sometime in like a month from now for our next public hearing, and people have the joyous task of working with
We've had those discussions. We haven't done anything specific. We haven't done, dollar value of this and dollar value of that. We've had the philosophical discussions of which way we'd like to go. We've looked for a way to maybe bring a little more revenue in. We understand we can't raise fees, which would offset, eliminating the small cap requests if we need to do that kind of thing. But it's not going to make up $1 million. You're right.
It is. We are in the midst of signing a new bus contract, correct?
Yes.
For next year.
Yeah.
And I wrote a quick note, Mr. Fauché. You mentioned that it would be maybe a benefit to the middle school to have a late bus to get kids engaged in after school. This might be the time to talk to Carl to see if, in putting out a competitive bid, if we could get a late school bus for your kids.
Just to modify, again, some of the points across the town, that type of thing. I've seen it work before, and it has great benefit. Obviously, just in the educational sense, being able to have kids stay for the homework club and get involved with extra help sessions. I mean, clearly, a lot of the kids don't have transportation as an issue at this age, So that would be a huge positive. Yeah.
1, 2, 3 days a week, maybe with a fee, maybe not.
Right.
But this would be the time.
Okay.
John, at the high school level, the idea of cutting back from 8 requiring courses to 7 is not something I favor, because I like the fact that we require our kids to work a little harder and take a few more courses than a lot of other schools in the state. But other than that, what other ways could you cut back? If you had to cut back, I mean, I suppose you could cut out more electives, but then we had nothing to do with the kids, correct?
Well, I think that's possible. Yes, that scenario is possible. But I think, to Mrs. Vaca's point earlier, that I think we would see class sizes balloon. I would be forced to put classes. I would be forced to really maximize the amount of students in a class at 30 right now. And our class sizes are decent right now, but it wouldn't take a lot to get them up into the high 20s or even 30. So if we all of a sudden are in a position of having to talk about reducing staff, then that limits the number of opportunities that students are in an elective course, but they have to be somewhere in an 8-class schedule. They have to be somewhere, period. But in our 8-class schedule, they might be in an elective number one that's not even their first choice elective, might be like their second, third, or fourth choice elective. So not only are you not affording them an opportunity to take a class that they've expressed interest in, but now you're putting them in a situation potentially with 28 or 29 other students who feel the same way. So I mean, it's right now. I just was looking. I was glancing at the numbers when Mr. Fauché was talking, and right now of the senior class, incoming senior class, which is about 175 students, about 125 of them are programmed for classes right now. Okay, and I'm looking at very exciting things. 18 students looking to take biochemistry, new course next year. 20 students interested in the advanced placement psychology course, that's new next year. 42 students, 36 seniors, 6 juniors, 36 seniors interested in sports and entertainment marketing next year. Phys ed, 41 seniors interested in taking phys ed next year. I mean, it would be sad not to be able to provide them the opportunities to take the courses, number one, that they're interested in, and number two, that I think help them to make good decisions about what they want to do after high school. And we're leveling the foreign language next year. 14 seniors looking to take Spanish 5 at the honors level. I mean, that's so good to see that our students aren't looking to always take, the easy way out, so to speak. They're taking challenging electives in their senior year when their transcript has already been built. Their grade point average, it's for all intents and purposes is fairly solid, and yet they're still looking to take courses that they know are going to help them with postgraduate study. And to not be able to do that is troubling at best. And I think if we're not able to have the kind of staff that we need to run the programs that we want to run, then we do jeopardize class sizes and the potential for revamping the master schedule to not provide 8 classes for everybody, potentially.
I would do anything to keep the block scheduling, because in my opinion, it's the best way to teach kids at this age group. In fact, if we could even get it down into the middle school, I'd recommend that, because getting kids to spend about 90 minutes on a subject either 2 times or 3 times a week is much more effective than 44 minutes, in and out, bang, I don't have to listen, I'm gone. If I miss the class, big deal, it's only 44 minutes. Those classes at 90 minutes each, or whatever, I think there's something about now 87 minutes.
77 minutes.
Yeah, those are much more effective, and the teachers are able to develop, I think, a much better rapport with the students in that kind of setting. So I think anything we could do to preserve that block scheduling, we should do.
It would be a last resort for me.
I agree, but to engage kids for that amount of time, you have to have the right instruction and materials, and our staff does. They've been trained, they do it well. But you have to have the lab for the hands-on part. You have to have some kind of interactive technology for visual learners. So you have to shake it up. It can't be 70 or 80 minutes of being lectured at. So we have to, again, 80% of our budget is staffing, and we want to protect that. But these materials are in the other 20%. And they're in there with the utilities to heat and light the buildings, with the transportation, which we charge a fee for. But, we have to protect the textbooks, the science kits, the whiteboards, the technology in the classroom, so that length of time makes a difference, so that they can actually approach kids on all different learning styles. So, we're in this annual budget cycle where we look at where can we cut, and it's always staffing for programs because of the 80% of the budget, and we've already shortchanged on all the materials. So we need to, a few years ago we had an override, an operating budget override, successful in this town, and we said it would last 3 years, and it did. And I know it's the wrong time to ask for an override in this economy, but this, I think what we're experiencing is where we need that every 3 years. We need a boost in our budget to maintain at least a 5% increase every year, and that's what it takes to maintain level services.
I'd like to make a point that Mrs. Parker used the words shortchanged a few moments ago.
I did. We cut 2 days out of our school calendar.
Could I make just one other quick thing? I know you have a long agenda, I'm sure, and other people to speak, but you know, look, I don't want to lose sight of the building. I mean, today, I've got 20 buckets all throughout the high school, literally.
How many you got here, Joe?
I was in over the weekend. Yesterday was a
Mine's coming up.
disaster at the high school in the A-wing. I mean, I had to close the A-wing as an entrance this morning because ceiling tiles out, leaks, it's just, you know, it's too bad.
I
But
think we've got 250,000 for roof repairs this summer, right?
We did, but Wayne told us we would be chasing those.
Right, chasing
But that's just, that's just one aspect of the building. I mean, it happens to be current because of the rain right now, but, there are other issues with the building too.
That's
that-
in that 20%.
Yeah, right. We're gonna stretch that to the max, yeah. Again, not to alarm people, but I think it's important to at least have it out there that the high school is an aging building, and it's going to need some substantial work, if not a complete rehab soon.
Is it older than the middle school?
Yes.
I don't think so. Is it really?
Well, I'm older than you, too.
Our water, fortunately, our water is not coming through the ceiling, it's coming up from the floor, so the LGR is kind of, we were doing some boat races down there this morning, so it's all pretty good.
But obviously, we are pursuing the building project.
Yes.
And the things you mentioned, while they do have an impact on education, they aren't a lot of the issues in the buildings that are directly related to education, like science labs, like an auditorium, like a proper area for music and the arts, and like a larger technology, like a larger phys ed facility where we could run more classes if we needed to, and just a lot of things like that. And of course, up at the middle school, it's same kind of issues.
We are in the minority of the high schools in this state that require 4 years of science for graduation.
Correct.
And because of that, and I bet we've introduced a half a dozen new science courses since I've been the principal, and we have 2 science labs at the high school. That's it.
And
So-
they're safe, but they're not what I would call first class, second class, or
They're-
maybe even third class science.
They're dated, and they only can accommodate 24 students. So we're capped at 24 for any kind of a lab science in order to allow every student in that class to have a lab station. So that's another limit.
The science teachers share that.
Yes, they do.
There's a benefit to being a teacher in a stationary science class. With that kind of equipment, you don't need everybody storing it over the windowsill for the next class.
Right.
We should have our lab science classes, should open.
That would be nice.
It would be, someday.
And you
I had that back in the 70s, when I went to high school. I don't know why we don't have it.
'70s?
When I went to high school, we had
But
science
that's,
class.
to not paint it all, I'll leave it on a dot, I mean, we have wonderful students, we have great staff that pitch in and work hard, do a very good job with what we have. And I know we'll continue to do that, but it is, Mr. Colleen, I thought, said it well. To get us to that next level, that's what you'd like to be able to do, and it's difficult to do that with some of the limitations that we have. A level services budget is needed to just maintain where we're at with what we're doing. Consideration has to be too from down the road, it's fiscal year 12 and such.
Certainly, if we were, as a committee, putting forward a budget that would reflect North Reading taking education one step into the future, it would be more than a level services budget. I
Right.
think we can all acknowledge that there are some deficiencies that deserve to be addressed, that we're not even considering. And that's because of the economy and the fiscal realities. But a level services budget is the lowest I'll go, and I think the board members would feel the same.
I think that's the unanimous consensus.
Yeah.
This committee is a level services budget, which unfortunately is the best case scenario for us next year, so that's a sad truth.
And then to point out what Maureen was talking about, the 5% increase a year, I've been on the committee for 6 years now, and it has been a roller coaster. In fiscal '09, to restore a lot of the things we cut in '08, we had a 7.7% increase. Fiscal '10, we had a 1.9% increase. This year, we're asking for a little over 5 if you include the small cap. Take the small cap out, it's about 4.5%. and we're being told there's nowhere near the money to cover that. And maybe there's enough money to cover a little increase, maybe a couple of percent. And then if that happens,